يوم ترجف الراجفة تتبعها الرادفة قلوب يومئذ واجفة أبصارها خاشعة يقولون أئنا لمردودون في الحافرة أئذا كنا عظاما نخرة قالوا تلك إذا كرة خاسرة فإنما هي زجرة واحدة فإذا هم بالساهرة هل أتاك حديث موسى إذ ناداه ربه بالواد المقدس طوى اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى فقل هل لك إلى أن تزكى وأهديك إلى ربك فتخشى فأراه الآية الكبرى فكذب وعصى ثم أدبر يسعى فحشر فنادى فقال أنا ربكم الأعلى فأخذه الله نكال الآخرة والأولى إن في ذلك لعبرة لمن يخشى أأنتم أشد خلقا أم السماء بناها رفع سمكها فسواها وأغطش ليلها وأخرج دحاها والأرض بعد ذلك دحاها أخرج منها ماءها ومرآها والجبال أرساها متاعا لكم ولأنعامكم فإذا جاءت الطامة الكبرى يوم يتذكر الإنسان ما سعى وبرزت الجحيم لمن يرى فأما من طغى وآثر الحياة الدنيا فإن الجحيم هي المأوى وأما من خاف مقام ربه ونهى النفس عن الهوى فإن الجنة هي المأوى يسألونك عن الساعة أيان مرساها فيما أنت من ذكراها إلى ربك منتهاها إنما أنت منذر من يخشاها كأنهم يوم يرونها لم يلبثوا إلا عشية أو ضحاها محمد وعلى محمد صلوات.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا يستوي أصحاب النار وأصحاب الجنة أصحاب الجنة هم الفائزون لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله وتلك الأمثال نضربها للناس لعلهم يتفكرون هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم صدق الله العلي العظيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن جابر بن عبد الله أنصاري عن فاطمة الزهراء عليه السلام بنت رسول الله قال دخل علي برسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال السلام عليك يا فاطمة، فقلت عليك السلام. قال إني أجد في بدني ضعفا، فقلت له أوذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف. فقال يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به، فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به، وصرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلالو كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن عليه السلام قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه. فقلت وعليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جد رسول الله. فقلت نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء. فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله، أتذن لي أن أدخلها معك تحت الكساء؟ وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب هوزي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معه تحت الكساء فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه. فقلت وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال لي يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جد رسول الله. فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه، السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله، أتذن لي أن أدخل معكما تحت الكساء؟ فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافي أمه، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معهما تحت الكساء فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابني أمير رسول الله. فقلت نعم ها هو ماء ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله، أتذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال الله عليك السلام يا أخي ويا واسي وخليفتي وصاحب لوائي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتا يا رسول الله، أتذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بذتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ برسول الله بطرف الكساء وأم بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وهامتي، لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي، يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن أعداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم، فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم، وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان السماوات إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدهية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمس مزية ولا فلك يدور ولا بحر يجري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال لمن جبريل يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن رسالتهم، فاطمة وأبوها وبالها وبنوها. فقال جبريل يا ربي أتذن لي أن أهبط الذي ليكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبريل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله العلي الأعلى، يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت السماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدهية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مزية ولا بحر يجري ولا فلك يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله. فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا من وحي الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبريل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لي بأن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. فقال لي بي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني برسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبين إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وهفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال برسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله يا علي هو الذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني برسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبين وفيهم محموم إلا وفرج الله هما ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غما ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته. فقال لي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وسعدنا وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة.
بر محمد وعلي محمد صلوات. کربل کی کہانی جب کوئی بھی سنائے گا کربل کی کہانی جب کوئی بھی سنائے گا دل والوں کی آنکھوں سے ایک دریا بہائے گا زہرا زہرا پورے سال و بغتر کا وہ کارواں سرور کا جو شان سے نکلا تھا سغرا کو خبر کیا تھی نہ لوٹ کے آئے گا زہرا زہرا پرسال و بغتر کا مہمان بلایا ہے اے کوفیوں سرور کو مہمان بلایا ہے اے کوفیوں سرور کو کیا کنبہ شہیدی کا پانی بھی نہ پائے گا زہرا زہرا پرسال و بغتر کا پامال ہوا قاسم چچا تیری میت کو اٹھائے گا زہرا زہرا پورے سال و 72 کا تھا ہاتھوں کے کٹنے کا کچھ غم نہ دلاور کو سیدانیوں کا پردہ اب کون بچائے گا زہرا زہرا پورے سال و 72 کا ٹوٹی ہے کمر شہ کی گھبراؤ نہ تم اکبر ٹوٹی ہے کمر شہ کی گھبراؤ نہ تم اکبر فرزند نبی تیرے لاشیں کو اٹھائے گا زہرا زہرا پرسال و 72 کا سوتے نہ تھے تم اصغر جھولے میں تڑپتے تھے سوتے نہ تھے تم اصغر جھولے میں تڑپتے تھے دنیا کو خبر کیا تھی ایک تیر سلائے گا زہرا زہرا پورے سال و 72 کا اصحاب نے دم توڑا شبیر کی زانوں پر اصحاب نے دم توڑا شبیر کی زانوں پر کس زانوں پہ سر اپنا شبیر کٹائے گا زہرا زہرا پورے سال و 72 کا بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات
صلوات اللہ محمد وآل محمد اللہ محمد وآل محمد کتنے دن بیت گئے آپ نے بلوایا نہیں مر ہی جاؤں گا اگر کرب و بلایا نہیں کتنے دن بیت گئے آپ نے بلوایا نہیں مر ہی جاؤں گا اگر کرب و بلایا نہیں کتنے دن بیت گئے تم ضروری ہو بہت سانس چلنے کے لیے وہ بھی ایک دور تھا جب تم سے ملنے کے لیے ہاتھ کٹوائے مگر کوئی بھی گھبرایا نہیں مر ہی جاؤں گا اگر کرب و بلایا نہیں کتنے دن بیت گئے آپ نے بلوایا نہیں، مر ہی جاؤں گا اگر کرب و بلایا نہیں، کتنے دن بیت گئے اب تلک بھولا نہیں رخصت کرب و بلا، جس گھڑی روتے ہوئے کربلا سے لوٹا، دل وہیں چھوڑ دیا ساتھ اسے لایا نہیں، مر ہی جاؤں گا اگر کرب و بلایا نہیں، کتنے دن بیت گئے آپ نے بلوایا نہیں، مر ہی جاؤں گا اگر کرب و بلایا نہیں، کتنے دن بیت گئے کتنا مشکل تھا تمہیں چھوڑ کے آنا حسین، میرے بس میں ہی نہ تھا دل کو بہلانا حسین، آپ کو یاد کیا قلب کو بہلایا نہیں، مر ہی جاؤں گا اگر کرب و بلایا نہیں، کتنے دن بیت گئے آپ نے بلوایا نہیں، مر ہی جاؤں گا اگر کرب و بلایا نہیں، کتنے دن بیت گئے کربلا چاہیے بس اے غریب زہرا، کچھ نہیں مانگتا میں آپ سے اس کے سوا، آپ نے خالی کسی کو کبھی لوٹایا نہیں، مر ہی جاؤں گا اگر کرب و بلایا نہیں، کتنے دن بیت گئے آپ نے بلوایا نہیں، مر ہی جاؤں گا اگر کرب و بلایا نہیں، کتنے دن بیت گئے اے سکینہ کے پدر تم کو بیٹی کی قسم، مولا تم جانتے ہو کتنے بے چین ہیں ہم، کب بلائیں گے مجھے آپ نے بتلایا نہیں، مر ہی جاؤں گا اگر کرب و بلایا نہیں، کتنے دن بیت گئے آپ نے بلوایا نہیں، مر ہی جاؤں گا اگر کرب و بلایا نہیں، کتنے دن بیت گئے قافلہ جب بھی کوئی کربلا جاتا ہے، آپ کی یاد میں یہ دل بہت روتا ہے، سب چلے کرب و بلا، اور میں نہ جا پایا نہیں، مر ہی جاؤں گا اگر کرب و بلا آیا نہیں۔ کتنے دن بیت گئے آپ نے بلوایا نہیں، مر ہی جاؤں گا اگر کرب و بلا آیا نہیں۔ کتنے دن بیت گئے، دل میں جو بات ہے وہ کیسے ذیشان لکھے، مجھ کو ملنا ہے وہی باروے مولا سے، یہ نظارہ بھی مجھے آپ نے دکھلایا نہیں، مر ہی جاؤں گا اگر کرب و بلا آیا نہیں۔ کتنے دن بیت گئے آپ نے بلوایا نہیں، مر ہی جاؤں گا اگر کرب و بلا آیا نہیں۔ کتنے دن بیت گئے۔ صلوات علی محمد و آل محمد۔
شاعر اہل بیت جناب نسیم فروخ کے سلام کے چند اشعار ایک بار بآواز بلند نعرہ صلوات۔ لبوں پہ آنے لگی جس گھڑی ثنائے حسین، لبوں پہ آنے لگی جس گھڑی ثنائے حسین، قلم نے سجدہ کیا سوئے بارگاہ حسین، قلم نے سجدہ کیا سوئے بارگاہ حسین، ہر ایک قطرہ خون ہے حسین کی خاطر، ہر ایک قطرہ خون ہے حسین کی خاطر، رگوں میں دوڑ رہی ہے میرے وفائے حسین، رگوں میں دوڑ رہی ہے میرے وفائے حسین، زمانہ دیکھتا ہے اب بھی کربلا کی طرف، زمانہ دیکھتا ہے اب بھی کربلا کی طرف، خدا کے دین بچا کے لائے حسین، وہ بستی ساری زمینوں سے منفرد ٹھہری، وہ بستی ساری زمینوں سے منفرد ٹھہری، جہاں پہ عرش سے تارے اتار لائے حسین، فراز دوش نبی اور فراز دوش نبی اور پھر سرے نیزہ، فراز دوش نبی اور پھر سرے نیزہ، وہ ابتدا تھی تو اب یہ ہے انتہائے حسین، وہ ابتدا تھی تو اب یہ ہے انتہائے حسین، ہر ایک دور میں ثابت یہ کر رہی ہے عذاب، ہر ایک دور میں ثابت یہ کر رہی ہے عذاب، مٹائے مٹ نہ سکے گی یہ کربلائے حسین، کچھ اس طرح سے بھی سمجھو حسین کی ہستی، کچھ اس طرح سے بھی سمجھو حسین کی ہستی، نماز ہے تو خدا کی مگر بچائے حسین، نماز ہے تو خدا کی مگر بچائے حسین، الٹ کے تیغ تبسم سے رکھ دیا لشکر، الٹ کے تیغ تبسم سے رکھ دیا لشکر، جب ایک ننھے مجاہد کو رن ملائے حسین، یہ آل ساقی کوثر ہے اے مسلمانوں، یہ آل ساقی کوثر ہے اے مسلمانوں، کمر ہی ٹوٹ گئی باد رخصت عباس کمر ہی ٹوٹ گئی باد رخصت عباس جواں کی لاش کو اب کس طرح اٹھائے حسین جواں کی لاش کو اب کس طرح اٹھائے حسین دعائے فاطمہ زہرا کو دے رہے ہیں فروغ دعائے فاطمہ زہرا کو دے رہے ہیں فروغ اگر ہے کوئی تمنا تو بس عزائے حسین لبوں پہ آنے لگی جس گھڑی ثنائے حسین قلم نے سجدہ کیا سوئے بارگاہ حسین صلوات پڑھ دیں محمد وآلہ
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. All brothers and sisters in faith, Assalamu alaikum. Let's start by offering dua shifa mariz to all of those who are in need. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Amma yujibul mustarra iza da'ah wa yakshifu su. Amma yujibul mustarra iza da'ah wa yakshifu su. أَمَّن يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ أَمَّن يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ أَمَّن يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ اللهم اشف كل مريض اللهم اشف كل مريض اللهم اشف كل مريض. Memberships. With the start of the new year 1448, we would like to remind you all that membership fees for this Islamic year are now due. Payment options are as follows. You can pay online at portal.jafri.org or in person at ZCC, as we have a treasurer here. Please come see one of our volunteers.
Niyaz donations are needed. As we prepare for the upcoming commemorations of Muharram, we are seeking the generous support of individuals and families to sponsor Niyaz. Providing Niyaz is a meaningful way to serve the community and honor the memory of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. The total budget for ZCC for this Muharram is $45,000, which will go towards meals served throughout the days and nights of Muharram. Contributions of any size are welcome, whether sponsoring a full or partial night or offering whatever you are able to give. These are two convenient ways to contribute. In person, please speak with a member of the mosque management to make your donation directly. Online, visit jafri.org/donate and be sure to select Muharram Fund for ZCC when making your contribution.
Muharram merchandise. Muharram merchandise is now available at the entrance to help support Zainabiyya Islamic Youth. This is a great way to show your support while contributing to youth-led initiatives in our community. If you're interested, please visit the table at the entrance and speak with Brother Abbas Ali, that's me, for more information on available items and pricing.
As we observe the blessed days of Azah, a time of reflection, remembrance, and spiritual growth, we are pleased to inform you that simultaneous programs will be held for children during the main gatherings. These sessions are thoughtfully designed to help children understand the values and lessons of Azah in an age-appropriate, engaging, and respectful manner. We kindly request all parents and guardians to ensure that their children attend these sessions so they can benefit from this meaningful experience alongside the community.
As you may have noticed upon parking your car, a small tent has been set up outside. This is part of a special project titled Journey to Karbala, thoughtfully prepared by Brother Kazim Durrani and Sister Sayyeda Durrani. The presentation offers a reflective and insightful look into the events of Karbala and the profound journey of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. We warmly encourage everyone to take a few minutes to visit the display and engage with this meaningful experience. In addition, during the upcoming days of Muharram, a Sabil of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam will be arranged. Those who are interested in volunteering or contributing to this initiative are kindly requested to contact Brother Muhammad Abbas Durrani.
Lastly, are requesting you all to recite Surah Fatiha for the marhums of the following sponsors' families who have donated towards tonight's program: Brother Asif Abbas and Bande Khada, and Kul Arwa wal Mu'minina wal Mu'minat. Al-Fatiha.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Now I request for everyone to please stand up and move forward closer to the front of the center as we welcome our scholar to the member with 3 of your loudest of salawats. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.
Is it okay? Can you hear? Is that okay? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وبه نستعين والصلاة والسلام على خير خلق الله أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ وَنَعْلَمُ مَا تُوَسْوِسُ بِهِ نَفْسُهُ. Please recite as-salawat. Respected listeners, my dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I would like to start with a personal anecdote. Some time ago, someone contacted me on the social media and reached out to me to discuss some of their dilemmas and issues. And this person lived in a country far away from where I live, in England. And we texted and we exchanged messages, and we also spoke over the phone a couple of times, and it turned out that they are a practicing Shia Muslim. But they had some serious mental health issues. So serious, and they had had so many setbacks in life that they had started to have thoughts of committing suicide, suicidal thoughts. And they told me that despite their faith, and despite being a practicing Shia Muslim, they almost attempted to commit suicide a couple of times, but their faith always helped them in the end. Regardless, they were living a very difficult life. They were having a very hard time. And so I continued to chat with them, exchange messages with them. And one day I got to meet them in person. And when I met them, I was surprised, almost shocked to see a beautiful person full of energy, a vibrant personality, a person full of smiles. And had they not told me beforehand what was going on in their mind, I would have never guessed what lied behind that smile. Because behind the smiles can be a world that is not pretty, that is not beautiful, that is very, very dark. And they are not the only person like that. Believe me, and I know there are many, many people in our communities who are smiling, who are joking around, who look very happy, but they have some serious, very serious mental health issues, or they are neurodiverse and they are having a hard time dealing with life. And you see, I have used two terms, mental health and neurodiverse or neurodiverse condition or neurodiversity. And I will unfold these terms in a bit, but as you know, today's topic is Behind the Smiles, Mental Health Matters. And I have carefully selected this topic for this occasion, the third lecture of this series of lectures. And as a matter of fact, I find this topic so important that in my point of view, this is perhaps the most important topic of this whole series of lectures. And therefore, I always, each year, during the Muharram and Safar period, give at least one lecture on this topic, because this topic is not discussed that often in our communities, and a lot more needs to be done when it comes to mental health, to raise awareness about mental health and then go beyond awareness and break the stigma associated with mental health problems and neurodiversity. And this lecture is a part of this attempt to do that, going beyond awareness and helping to break this stigma. So what you're going to learn during the next 45 to 50 minutes or so today is, first of all, very briefly, what do I mean by mental health and neurodiversity? Without making it too complicated, too technical, some very basic definitions. And after that, throughout the lecture, I will use the term mental health as an umbrella term to keep the discussion simple and easy. First that, very briefly, a couple of minutes. After that, what could be the root causes of mental health conditions? That's what I'll spend quite some time on, and also discuss whether you are responsible for your mental health condition and your misery in case some of you is suffering from those conditions. Is it your fault? Is it that you lack faith? You have a weak faith, and therefore this is your fault. This is what I'll take a closer look at. And after that, how can we as individuals, parents, and members of the community help break this stigma? What we need to do, a brief discussion on that. And then, what does religion have to do with this issue? How can religion help us and those who suffer with mental health conditions? This is what I will talk about in this lecture. And then in the end, about 15 or so minutes, I will give the detailed accounts of some of the events that took place in the early Islamic history and tell you more about Imam Hussein alayhi salam's journey from Medina to Mecca, from Mecca to Karbala, inshallah, and end this lecture with a brief eulogy. So today you are going to learn a couple of things that are definitely going to help you and all of us to learn a little bit more about this very important topic, and also equip you with some tools that can help you deal with such issues if you are suffering, or help others, your loved ones, your friends, and other community members, inshallah. But before I proceed, wherever you are, you who are present here and those who are watching this program online, from the bottom of your heart, please recite a beautiful salawat. So, mental health and neurodiversity. Very briefly, what is mental health? Mental health means emotional and psychological well-being. If someone has a good mental health, they are emotionally and psychologically sound well-being. And it also tells us how we deal with the world. Mental health means how you feel, how you process the information, how you relate to others, how you think. This is mental health. When it comes to neurodiversity or neurodiverse conditions, that is a very different thing. While mental health refers to how we feel, how we deal with others, how we look at the world, and so on and so forth, neurodiversity tells us how our brain is wired. Those people who are neurodiverse, how their brain is wired and how they are born. It is a condition that they have to live with throughout their lives. It's not a disorder. It is not necessarily a bad mental health. It is a condition such as ADHD, autism spectrum disorder, dyslexia, dyscalculia, and so on and so forth. These things generally in scientific terms are called neurodiverse conditions that people are born with. And 1 in 5 in the world, in the global population, 1 in 5 are neurodiverse. 1 person in 5 is neurodiverse. 20% of the world's population is neurodiverse. So this is important to know in the start of this lecture. These conditions that people are born with. I'm repeating because this is a slightly different topic. I will repeat and reiterate a couple of things and take the discussion slowly, because this is not theologically heavy subject, but still very important subject. So now we understand mental health are those conditions that are related to how you feel, how you think, how you relate to others. And therefore, mental disorders are different from neurodiverse conditions. While ADHD, autism spectrum disorder, and those things are neurodiverse conditions, mental illnesses are things like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and borderline disorder, and those kinds of things. Now, this is what is based on my research and my discussions with some psychologists and experts, because I am not an expert, and maybe someone is an expert here. Someone is a psychologist. So I just want to give this disclaimer. My later part of the lecture is more on how we can break this stigma and how faith can help us. I am not here to play psychologist. I am not here to step on the toes of the professionals, psychologists or psychiatrists, by the way. So this is important to know. So now let's use the umbrella term mental health condition to simplify the discussion. So if someone has those conditions, are they responsible for it? Where do these conditions come from? What are the root causes of it? So research tells us that there can be 3 types of root cause. First and foremost, genetics. And none of these root causes alone are the determining factor, what I'm going to tell you. It's not the determining factor. But genetics plays a very important role in neurodiverse conditions or mental health conditions. And there is quite some research on that. And there has been studies, somewhat controversial studies, but still some scientific studies that point at this. And I've heard many psychologists say that these conditions run in families. And one study, very interesting study, is that scientists did an experiment on mice. They selected a few male mice and they exposed them to the fragrance of cherry blossom, and at the same time gave them electric shock in their feet. Exactly at the same time, exposed them to the fragrance of cherry blossom and gave them shock. So they became fearful, and they associated shock with the fragrance of cherry blossom. After that, they let those male mice mate with female mice who hadn't been exposed to fragrance or shock or anything. And then they had pups, baby mice, and they let them grow. And after a while, they exposed those baby mice to cherry blossom, just cherry blossom, nothing else. As soon as those baby mice, those pups, smelled cherry blossom, they became extremely fearful. There was no electric shock, only their parents, the male, had been exposed to cherry blossom and electric shock simultaneously, so the DNA transferred that memory to the next generation that, hey, cherry blossom is danger. Now, this is one study that can be controversial, and you need to do many, many experiments before a theory can become an established fact. So I'm not saying that this is the fact, but it points towards something. That DNA does not only transmit the physical features, but also traumas and fears to warn the next generations. This thing is dangerous. This is fear. Be vigilant. Be alert. And then, interestingly, we have some narrations that tell us that bravery runs in genes. We have some narrations. Could you think of one such narration? We all know that Imam Ali alayhi salam, after Our Lady passed away, he asked Aqil to go and find a woman from a brave tribe, the mother of Abbas alayhi salam. He says, go and find a woman from a brave tribe. What does that mean, brave tribe? This means, if we say that this narration is authentic, because some ulama believe these narrations are not authentic, but let's for now assume that this narration is authentic because it is so widely spoken about and narrated. This means that bravery travels through genes. So if bravery can travel through genes, so can cowardice. And another narration tells us that. Could you think of another narration? Also involving Imam Ali alayhi salam and another son, not Abbas. Muhammad Hanafiya and the Battle of Siffin. Famous narration. Imam Ali alayhi salam sent Muhammad Hanafiya to go and fight. He went to fight and returned and said, Father, it is too fierce. The battle is too fierce. The Imam sent him again. He went and he returned, too fierce. The Imam gave him a nudge with his sheath of his sword or the handle of his sword, a nudge, and said, this is due to the milk of your mother. This cowardice, sort of. And then sent Hassan to go and fight, and Hassan put up a great fight, fierce fight, the son of Zahra. If we, again, believe that this is an authentic narration, this means Muhammad Hanafiya, of course, he couldn't have inherited cowardice from the conqueror of Khaybar, the Amirul Mu'mineen. It means that some sort of genes from his mother's side brought that phobia or trauma or something due to which he couldn't go and put up a fierce fight. This is an academic discussion here. No, we are not trying to belittle anyone. We are not trying to insult anyone. Just an academic discussion. Already I said, assumption that this narration is authentic. So maybe traumas also travel through genes. So the point is, if you have certain trauma or fear that you have inherited, regardless of what the reason may be in the divine scheme of things, I'm not getting there. What's your fault that you have a mental health condition or neurodiverse condition? What's your fault in that? Nothing. Nothing. But again, this is not the only determining factor. The second factor, that is the brought up and the environmental factors and the society in which a child is brought up. Quite some research on children who grew up in war zones and refugee children, they have mental health conditions, PTSD, different dilemmas. What does that tell us? The children of Gaza, hearing all those bombs and bloodshed and killing, the children growing up in during the genocide taking place in Bosnia, in the first Iraq war, second Iraq war, the first Afghan war, the second Afghan war, prolonged wars. What's the fault of those children when they grow up and have phobias, traumas, and some sort of mental health issues? Are they to be blamed for having a weak faith? Scientific research tells that these children are going to have those issues. Children who grow up in abusive families, abusive parents, parents who are way too critical all the time, criticizing children. Do this, don't do this. Are you stupid? Are you stupid? Where is your brain? Look at the children of Mr. This and this, Shah Saab's children, Chaudhry Saab's children, Agha Fulan's children. They are so smart. You always bring disgrace to me. I'm always ashamed in public because you are so slow, because you are so stupid. What do you think these children are going to have when they grow up? Low self-esteem, different kinds of mental health issues. Parents are fighting all the time, and these kids then become people pleaser because they want to resolve the conflict. They will turn up. They will turn into people pleasers, which is the hallmark of many neurodiverse and mental health conditions. What's the fault of those children when they grow up? You see, we don't even think about these things. Environmental factors, toxic societies, toxic communities, where all the time children are being compared to other children. Lower self-esteem, dhillatun nafs, in the ilmun nafs of Islamic ilmun nafs. Dhillatun nafs, low self-esteem. The third factor, and each of these factors one can talk and go on and on and on, but of course I'm condensing, and this topic is so broad and deep, I'm only gonna give a flavor. Only gonna give a flavor and scratch the surface. The third factor is drugs abuse and excessive use of alcohol. That can create mental disorders and exacerbate neurodiverse conditions. Exacerbate. Research, there is quite some research that says that if someone abuses drugs, they become schizophrenic, they become paranoid. People mix drugs with alcohol, and all those things happen. I'm telling you, and should not be a taboo to talk about these things. If in this society, God forbid, you are exposed to such a thing, forget about halal and haram. Of course it is haram, but even forget about halal, haram, it's gonna ruin your mental health forever. And these things stay in brain for a very, very long time. Very, very long time. So these are the three key reasons for mental health issues. And I have done it very quickly, condensed it, this part of the lecture. The question is, none of this, apart from the third factor, if someone has done drug abuse and all that, the other two root causes are not the fault of anyone. Either it is genes or it is what they were growing up in, the kind of circumstances, families, society, community. So how can you tell people, this is your fault, you have a weak faith? Shaitan is controlling you. You are a sinner. You are being punished. Because this is what our mentality is. And that's why we have such a strong stigma attached to it, that we hide it. We don't want to tell anyone our children are neurodiverse. My child struggles with studies not because he is stupid. He just has different kinds of skill set. If a child has dyslexia, they can't read text very easily, but you can overcome it. You can overcome it. Dyslexia, you can overcome it by hard work, by repeatedly reciting, reading. So much so that one of our prime ministers of Norway, Erna Solberg, a very smart woman, she has dyslexia. She ended up becoming the prime minister of Norway because luckily she is not Shia or Muslim. Otherwise she would be judged so much that she would become completely crazy. Lucky for her. Because we have such a strong stigma attached to these things. Research tells us that it takes on average 10 to 15 years for a person to come out and realize that they need help. 10 to 15 years. And people never come out. Some people come out in the age of 50, 60, they go and they want to get a diagnosis. Some people get diagnosis at 70 or so. But in our communities, it is very difficult. Let me tell you, only last year or so, I went to recite a majlis somewhere, and I was sitting there and a kid came running and just hit me on my head. 4 or 5-year-old kid. I was shocked a bit. I thought, the kid is a bit mischievous. Okay, he's a child. The father came immediately running to me. So sorry, Maulana, so sorry, I apologize. He's mentally not right. He said in a derogatory term. I stood up, I was sitting. I said, no. He's okay. He's okay. I said, is he neurodiverse? Yeah, he has this. I said, why do you have to use this kind of apologetic and derogatory tone for your own child? Yeah, it's okay, he's a child, but don't use these kind of terms. I didn't say this to him, but I said to him, it's okay. Because we are so afraid. We are so ashamed. But at the same time, I know parents in England, for example, they are very open about neurodiversity of their children. They are very open. And some people are doing very good, having good careers, because very early on, they figured it out. What was it that they were struggling with? And then they equipped them with the tools. And slowly, they studied. They're just different. And they made a career and all that. It is very important that we break this stigma and this taboo. Because people are struggling. People are suffering. People are suffering big time. Parents are forcing their children to become engineers, doctors, IT specialists. Okay, doctors, they memorize a lot of things. I don't know how much mathematics is involved in that. But if it is numerate degrees and someone has dyscalculia, they just can't work with numbers, and you are pushing them because it's very important for you to have this prestige. My son or my daughter has this degree. They can't. It's too difficult for them. Too difficult. That's the thing. And we're not even aware of it. Not aware of it. There can be so many different kinds of conditions, and I can't describe each and every. And as I said, this lecture is not about psychology. I'm not a psychologist, but just to make a point and scratch the surface. So how can we break this stigma? As I said, we need to do more mental health seminars, be open about it, and raise the awareness, and then go beyond awareness, because awareness is what? Awareness, okay, I'm aware of it, such a thing exists, okay, good. But go beyond awareness and break this stigma, this taboo. Otherwise, children are going to suffer in all spheres of life. And the good thing is that in the kafir schools that we are so much averse to nowadays, and we want to have our own schools so that we can judge our kids there also in our own way. But the kafir schools, at least, I don't know what kind of bad things they teach, and they do maybe, but at least they observe the kids who is struggling. Because if the parents are not paying attention, if the community is not paying attention, at least the kafir teachers are paying attention. Thankfully so, at least in Europe, and I hope in Canada too. And if they are paying attention, and if they tell you that your child has this condition, and take them to the specialist, please do that. This is my request. So, and there are so many conditions, as I said, but we force our kids, we don't show any understanding, and our community members, our relatives also, because we have no empathy. At most, we can have sympathy, and even we lack that. We lack that. And empathy, forget about it. Sympathy is to feel pity for someone. Empathy is to be in someone else's shoes, which we hardly ever do. We can have sympathy. Sign loke hai. You understand? Very colloquial. When someone is a little bit slow, someone is neurodiverse, sign lok, sharif admi hai. Sharif admi. These are very colloquial words in Desi communities, which basically means, yeah, he's slow. Their kids are, yeah, they're a little bit slow. Kiske hue hain. These kind of words. That's it. No, we need to help one another. And also keep an eye on community members. Let me tell you a very interesting anecdote. It's sad though. It's sad really. About almost 2 decades ago, in one of the European countries, I used to go to a Desi mosque. I hadn't entered the industry of Azadari back then, so I used to go and attend majlises. And I saw a brother who used to recite Nauha and Marsiya, beautiful voice, beautiful, very kind person, gentle person. And we used to have a chit chat once in a while, but I never saw him saying prayers, Salatul Jama'ah. So one day I stood outside the mosque and was having a chat with him, and I said to him, why don't you join Salatul Jama'ah? Why don't you come and say prayers? I just wanted to invite him to prayers. He says, no, I don't. I thought he was an extreme malang or something, anti-salah. He said, no, I just can't. I said, why? Why you can't say prayers? You, mashallah, recite poetry and all that. He said, well, I have been ordered not to say prayers. I said, ordered? Who has ordered you? I've been commanded not to say prayers. I said, who? He said, those whose ziyarah I get to do. I thought, this sounds interesting. So I said, whose ziyarah you get to do? All of them? He said, all of them. I get to do the ziyarah of all of them, referring to the 14 infallibles. I get to do the ziyarah of all of them. Now, this is 2007 or so. I wasn't that aware of mental health and all that. No. I also thought, kiske mein hai? I also thought he's a little bit crazy and stuff. You see, I'm saying the community members, our role, what role we can play. I said, no. You see, salah is wajib, please. He said, yeah, when I try to recite prayers, salah, I see the picture of shaitan in the turba. Then I thought, okay, he is really next level. But ziyarah of the 14 infallibles, they have ordered me not to say prayers. Seeing picture of shaitan, what is it telling us? Some serious mental health condition. Perhaps, probably, most likely. But I thought, okay, he's crazy, leave him. No one pays attention to him. And I really hope and pray sincerely that he's doing well and he's fine. But there's so many people around us that we don't even pay attention to. And also there are so many people around us who are smiling, laughing, like that person I told you, my personal anecdote. And usually we think, oh, if someone is sitting quietly and they look sad, they must have depression, they must have a mental health issue. It's not always the case. Sometimes some people look very happy, laughing, joyful, extrovert, but we don't know what's going on behind the smile. We don't know. So now, I have 25 minutes left in the lecture. As I said, this is such a broad and deep topic. I'm just scratching the surface. So first, let me repeat a few takeaways for you. First of all, you are not responsible for your misery. That's what you have to learn. No one is responsible for their misery. If they are living a miserable life, if they are suffering in silence because of all these things. That's number one. And after that, break this stigma. Don't be ashamed of your children. Don't judge others. Don't do that, and don't expect too much from your children if they have these conditions. For example, don't force them to become a qari or memorize the Quran or recite poetry in the most beautiful way if they're struggling to read because of some condition, dyslexia or something. Help them overcome that, and then gradually, because if you attempt and recite and over again, for example, memorization of Quran can be a very helpful tool, a way to get over this. But don't rush, don't judge them, They will become qari if you do it properly. Try to figure out what kind of condition your children have and then make them go in a direction that is more in line with that, a career that is more in line with that. If someone has ADHD and if they cannot concentrate and they have a short attention span, don't force them to listen to Du'a-e Kumail every Thursday and sit for half an hour. They can't. I'm telling you, mate, they hardly can say 2 rakat prayers with concentration. They can't. Don't judge them. They can't. Du'a-e Kumail is not wajib. These things we don't even think about. We don't even think about. So this brings me to how can faith help us? Faith. Because faith has a place. If you say, it is, as I said, sometimes we say it is because of lack of faith. It is because shaitan is controlling you. Okay, that's one extreme. And the second extreme is faith has got nothing to do with it. Faith can't help you at all. Both are counterproductive. Extreme views. One is you have a lack of faith, that's why you are having these issues. Second is just faith, faith, faith. Memorize and parrot certain verses and you will become good. But both are extremist views. So let's take a look at faith. Does our religion take into account mental health issues at all? So what is faith? What does faith comprise of? 3 things. 3 things, right? What is that? Aqa'id, basic beliefs, fiqh, and akhlaq. This is what 3 key branches of faith we have. Beliefs, fiqh, and ethics. So let me start with fiqh. I'll talk about aqaid in the end. First, let's take a look at fiqh. Does the fiqh, Islamic fiqh, take mental health conditions or neurodiversity, or umbrella term mental health, into account at all? So first of all, fiqh's domain is not to give diagnosis. Just like fiqh is not there to give diagnosis of physical ailments, it's not there to give diagnosis of mental illnesses or mental health issues. However, we have certain rulings that are related to mental health conditions and can help people. Let me give you a classical example. OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder of najasa and tahara. Najasa and tahara. Some people are into this. Everything is najis for them. This is najis, that is najis. They have a lot of shak. So the fiqh has a basic principle of istishab, that everything is tahir, everything is pure. So the fiqh says if you have so much shak of kathir shak, they shouldn't even pay attention to their shak, to their doubt. So the fiqh does take into account these things indirectly. If someone has kathir shak, so many doubts, they don't know what they are reciting, how many surahs, how many rakat they have recited and all that, then we have shakkiyatus salah. You don't have to break your prayers all the time. You learn the shakkiyatus salah and make up for that by doing sajda sahw and this and that. However, some people find shakkiyatus salah so complicated that they are better off paying attention and say prayers with concentration. That is easier to memorize the shakkiyatus salah. Just on a lighter note, of course, we respect our fiqh, which is based on the Quran, the Hadith, the Ijma', the Aql, and the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt. It was on a lighter note. Now, so this is one thing. And also, if someone has ADHD, for example, someone cannot concentrate, they don't know which rakah they are in, first, second, then they can say congregational prayers. Jama'ah, Salatul Jama'ah has so many blessings, so many benefits. If someone cannot concentrate on prayers, they say prayers in Jama'ah. Keep thinking about whatever you're doing. Keep your thoughts, keep wandering around. Just follow the Imam. Just follow the Imam and you just keep saying your prayers. God forbid, unless the Imam himself has ADHD. That's another issue. That's another issue. So the fiqh takes these things into account. Another classical example, According to the fiqh, if someone is majnoon, completely lost their aql, their mind, they are not accountable for their deeds. And this is very much in line with the secular law. There have been cases, some famous cases, that someone used to do night walking, walking in sleep. They woke up, they drove the car, they killed someone, and they didn't know what they were doing. And the court acquitted them. The court gave the verdict, no, they are not accountable for their deed because they didn't know what they were doing, had no control over themselves. It was scientifically proven. If it is scientifically proven, according to our fiqh, if someone murders someone without knowing what they are doing, completely having lost ikhtiyar, you cannot hold them accountable, even murder, because they have lost their mind, they have lost their aql, not by choice, not through some external factor, such as taking hard drugs and alcohol and all that. If you do that, then you are accountable for your deeds. But other than that, if it's scientifically proven that someone is schizophrenic, they don't even know what they are doing, they will be segregated, they will be put in captivity so that they don't go on and hurt others, but they can't be punished. This is our fiqh. So the fiqh does take into account this neurodiversity, mental health conditions indirectly. And there is much more that needs to be done. And as we proceed and progress and more scientific research is done and more scientific research is brought in line with ijtihad, I expect that more and more fiqh related to mental health will be done in future. Just to give you a basic flavor of it. Then the next thing is akhlaq, Islamic ethics. Does that take into account mental health conditions? Yes, it does. It does not spell it out. It does not say that it is mental health condition, but ilmun nafs, it deals with the nafs, the workings of the nafs, the mind and all that. And for centuries, Muslims, Shia, Sunnis, they have been writing about it. Things like envy, things like jealousy, things like intrusive thoughts, things like how to get your mind to focus, not to let your mind wander away. Spiritual practices in Islamic irfan and gnosis, there are practices so that you can have your thoughts in order. Indirectly, these practices can help believers to sort their issues out, but only so much, because some people have so severe conditions that they really need the help of specialists, either therapists or they need medication. They need to go to the specialists, and our fiqh and our ulama and our mujtahideen, they say go and consult the specialists. Just as you would if you had physical ailments, you would go to the doctor. So if you have mental illness, go to the doctor. It is an ilm. And all ilm trickles down from Lawh Mahfuz. That is a limited image of Allah's eternal ilm. I'll talk about it in a later lecture. All ilm comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether it is in the hand of a non-Muslim or a Muslim, whether it is in the hand of a prophet or an ordinary person. The source of ilm is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So go to the specialists. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help you through that wasila. Doesn't matter they are Muslim or non-Muslim. They are a wasila that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses. So Islamic ethics. But there is a big gap in Islamic ethics when it comes to mental health conditions. For example, let me give you a real example. The famous book 40 Hadith, Chehel Hadith. Hadith number 25, very interesting hadith, is about shak and shak of tahara and najasa and those things. And the author writes in a very beautiful way, but condemns the one who has this shak and uses really strong language. This person is playing into the hands of shaitan. This shaitan, this, that. Condemns this person, that you should not have shak about tahara and najasa. But the book was written 50, 60, maybe 70 years ago. And they did not think about mental health and stuff at that time. Not even once does the author hint at the possibility that such a person might have a mental health condition. Not at all. So maybe we need to write annotations to the classical Islamic ethics books, annotations and update, and write new books of Islamic ethics to fill that gap. And there is quite some research taking place in our marakis and our centers and seminaries. And I hope and pray that as we progress, just like fiqh, there will also be more work done to fill these gaps in Islamic ethics and bridging that gap between psychology and mental health and Islamic ethics. Then the third thing, aqa'id, the basic aqa'id. And believe me, our aqa'id are so beautiful. Our aqa'id are there not only for us to prostrate and do ibadah, but also to help us deal with our conditions, our mental health conditions, setbacks in life, and all that. These aqa'id, as I said, alone, just by parroting the aqa'ids, we won't solve our issues. But by reflecting on the aqa'id, they can help greatly in times of difficulty, in times of confusion, in times of those mental health issues coming to the fore, which is very common nowadays in this postmodern world. The kind of lifestyle we have, the kind of individualistic lifestyle, the rise of the social media, the rise of AI and all that, this greed and this hedonistic lifestyle, this extreme capitalism, all of this is doing what? Is waking up all those tendencies that people had that had not been activated yet. The things maybe they had inherited. They were more prone to having mental health conditions, and now this lifestyle and this society is exacerbating those things. Therefore, more and more people are having those mental health conditions. More and more people are getting this diagnosis, which is also a result of increased awareness, but external factors really affect. As I discussed earlier also, external factors, environmental factors, societal factors affect one's mental health. And if we live in a conducive society, if we sit in a conducive, positive company, then mental health can improve. This is elastic. The good thing about mental health is it is elastic. It can get a lot worse, but it can also get a lot better. A lot better. And faith helps. Faith helps big time. But some people have reached a point where they badly need medication or therapy, and only then they can start to think a little bit more clearly, and then faith will help them. If someone is suffering in dark depression, and you tell them about Allah and be grateful to the bounties of Allah, they will swear at Allah, God forbid. It happens. They will become angry at God, angry at faith. It happens. So do not do maw'izah to them. Take them to the specialists first. Bring them to a little bit more normal condition, and then remind them of God. Then remind them of akhirah. Then remind them that this world is a temporary place, and it helps big time. These aqaid help big time. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what goes on inside us. I recited verse number 16 of Surah Qaf in the opening sermon. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ وَنَعْلَمُ مَا تُوَسْوِسُ بِهِ نَفْسُهُ. We have certainly created mankind, and we certainly know what their soul, what their nafs, or in simpler terms, what their mind whispers to them. Allah knows. Allah is aware, fully aware, has full knowledge of it. And He wants us to also have that knowledge. He also wants us to become self-aware, because that is a way to reach God. when one becomes more self-aware. There is so much significance, so much importance on self-awareness in Islam. Learning about ourselves. So while mental health issues can be a threat, we can turn that into an opportunity to learn about ourselves, how we think, why we think so. And this can really help us improve a lot, because anyone can have mental health conditions. Anyone in setbacks in life, they can start to feel bad. Mental health, anyone can be affected with it. Even those who are neurotypical, who are not born with neurodiverse conditions. As I said in the beginning, the definition of it, how you feel, how you relate to the world. So this mental health aqa'id can really help us deal with those things. And self-awareness. How I think, what I think, why I think this way. And those who did that, they always ended up being on the right side of history. And those who did not become self-aware, they always remained confused and ended up being on the wrong side of history. Did not support the wali of Allah. Everyone who supported Imam Hussein alayhi salam, or any wali of Allah, they were very self-aware, very much self-aware. They knew what they thought, how they thought, what they wanted. With that goes away the confusion. There were so many people who did not support Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Very few people joined Imam Hussein alayhi salam. There were prominent people who did not. They would come and they would say to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, don't do this. I'm worried about you. I'm worried about your life. Please go there. And I would say to them, who are you? What do you think you are? You are going to teach Hussein? I can understand you are kind, you want to be nice to Hussein. You want to teach Hussein what to do, what not to do? While the Holy Prophet ﷺ has said, Al-Hasan wal-Hussein imaman. Hassan and Hussein are both imams, whether they stand up or sit down, whether they make an uprising or they don't. What does that mean? Follow them. Don't try to be their guide. There were people who didn't join Imam Hussein alayhi salam, only gave him kind pieces of advice. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, yesterday I talked about history, left Medina and went to Mecca. Arrived in Mecca on the 3rd of Sha'ban and stayed there for 4 months and 5 days, which is a long period. In that period, everybody got to know that Hussein has refused to give the oath of allegiance to Yazid and has risen up. Hussein has done qiyam by leaving Medina. Imam Hussein alayhi salam announced his uprising. He announced. People say, oh, the Kufans wrote the letters and then Imam Hussein stood up and rose up. No, the letters came not in Medina. The letters arrived in Mecca when the Kufans heard that Hussein has refused to give the oath of allegiance. So then there was this man, Sulaiman ibn Surad al-Khuza'i, a prominent man in Kufa. He gathered the tribal chiefs and prominent people of Kufa in his house, and he asked them a question. And he said to them, Hussein has refused to give the oath of allegiance to Yazid, and he has left Medina, gone to Mecca. Now, if you think that you are ready to support Hussein, then write to him and make him aware of your readiness. And if you doubt your readiness, then do not trick him into risking his life. These are his words. Everyone said, no, we are ready. We are ready to fight alongside Hussein. He said, if this is so, then write. He dictated a letter. And the crux of the letter is, basically, we have no imam, so please come to Kufa, and maybe Allah will unite us through you. Maybe Allah will unite us on the truth through you. Basically, this is the crux of that letter. And this letter was sent to Mecca to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. 2 days later, 2 days later, more letters came. A few days later, more letters came. In the end, they had around 18,000 letters, or letters containing 18,000 signatures. And one signature represented many, many people, because it was not the signature of every member of the tribe. These were prominent people, tribal chiefs. They represented families, or their own family, the whole family, or several people. In any case, it was thousands of people who basically said, we are ready. The Imam sent Muslim ibn Aqil, you know that, Muslim ibn Aqil to Kufa to go and assess the political circumstances and check the readiness level of the Kufans. Of course, the Imam knew on the basis of his ilm, the ilm from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but the Imam now functions on the basis of zawahir. He is not going to work on the basis of the ilm he has from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's working on the basis of the apparent things happening in the society. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. The Imams don't make use of their special ilm, or ilm al-ghayb, or ilm from Allah. So he sent Muslim ibn Aqil. Muslim ibn Aqil, we all know how he was betrayed. But before he was betrayed, he wrote a letter and sent the letter to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Please hurry to Kufa, because these people are ready to support you. Imam Hussein alayhi salam left Mecca. But on what date? On what day? 8th of Dhul Hijjah. 8th of Dhul Hijjah, Imam Hussein alayhi salam left Mecca. The Hajj is on 9th, 10th. The Imam did not complete his Hajj. Why? Because he got to know that Yazid has sent mercenaries in the guise of Hajjis to assassinate Imam Hussein alayhi salam during the Hajj. The Imam said, I will not desecrate the Mecca, the sanctity of Masjidul Haram. The Imam left Mecca on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, while Muslims were busy in performing the Hajj, scoring big points with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to get the paradise and many hurs and all that. While the soul of the Hajj, the soul of the religion has left Mecca. The Mecca, the embodiment of the Kaaba, has left the Kaaba. And you are busy in performing the Hajj. So what is left in that Hajj? Except that it is just a tiring physical exercise. No one joined Hussein except a few, including some people that Shia Muslims revere and look up to. People like Farazdaq. Many Shia people look up to him because he was a poet who wrote couplets in praise of the Ahlul Bayt, and especially the people of the subcontinent love poets and look up to poets. Farazdaq. The Imam left Mecca, and outside Mecca he met Farazdaq, who was going to perform the Hajj. The Imam said to him, what is the situation in Kufa? He was coming from Kufa. He said this famous sentence, that the Kufans' hearts are with you and their swords are with Yazid. Farazdaq said this. After that, interesting bit, after that, Farazdaq asked the Imam a few masail of Hajj. What to do, what not to do, not to kill a fly, not to eat this, that, not to put on perfume, whatever, so that he could score big points, sawab, and said goodbye. Khalas, you go. I'm going to perform the Hajj. Farazdaq, the hero of some Shias. Everyone who did not join Hussein is, in my eyes, zero. No matter how many couplets he has written. Zero. Unless he has a Shari'i Jawaz or some Maslaha, Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, Abdullah ibn Ja'far, and some people. Everyone who did not join Hussein, khalas, zero. The Imam left. and continued. So remember, the Imam is going to Kufa, not Karbala. He has been invited to go to Kufa. Time's pretty much up, but I need to complete this history. So then they continued and reached a point called Sharaf or Sharaf. Over there, they loaded up the water supplies. And that's where Hur arrived with 1,000 soldiers, horsemen, 1,000 horsemen. He's the commander of 1,000 horsemen in Ibn Ziyad's army, Hur. And Hur says that I've been ordered to take you to Kufa. They wanted Imam Hussein alayhi salam to reach Kufa not freely, because if he arrives freely, people join him, he makes an uprising. No. Sort of pretty much as a prisoner, controlled. Hur said, I am here to take you to the Amir Ibn Ziyad in Kufa. Imam Hussein alayhi salam said, death will befall you before you do that. So Hur said, what to do? Hur said, okay, I will write a letter to Ibn Ziyad asking him what to do. In the meantime, you keep moving and I will keep an eye on you. So he wrote a letter to Ibn Ziyad. This is the condition, this is the situation. I've met Hussein. Hussein is not willing to go to Kufa like that, like in captivity, under my control, what to do? And now Imam Hussein continues to move. And Hur with his horsemen, 1,000 horsemen, also continues to move side by side, keeping an eye on the Imam. And then, either on the 1st of Muharram or the 2nd, both types of narrations. Some narrations say on the 1st of Muharram, but most narrations say on the 2nd of Muharram, the Imam had just entered a place called Nainawa. And Karbala is a part of Nainawa. That they had just entered that place, that they saw a horseman rushing towards them. And he came near the camp of Imam Hussein and Hur, both. They were in the same place pretty much. And he completely ignored Imam Hussein, did not say salam to the Imam and said salam to Hur, and handed over a letter from Ibn Ziyad. And in that letter it was written, be harsh on Hussein and take him to a barren place, a barren land away from the water. They had just entered that barren land, Karbala. Karb wa bala, the land of pains, tests, and tribulations. The Imam said, we are going to stop here. This is where Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his family and his companions are going to stay for the next 8 days. This is the land of tests. And in this place, something is going to happen that the earth has never witnessed in the entire history. And it is never going to witness ever in the rest of the times. It is in this place where the son of Zahra will be slaughtered in the state of extreme thirst. It is this place where Ruqayya will be slapped. It is this place where Zainab and Kulthum, their veils will be snatched. And not only that, the daughters of Rasulullah will be taken as the prisoners of war. This is this place where the daughters of the Holy Prophet will be taken as the prisoners of war. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم ولعن أعدائهم أجمعين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
ہوں گونجی بوقت عصر صدا میں حسین ہوں گونجی بوقت عصر صدا میں گونجی بوقت عصر صدا میں حسین ہوں گونجی بوقت عصر صدا میں حسین ہوں کاٹو نہ میرا خشک گلا ہے کاٹو نہ میرا خشک گلا میں حسین ہوں گونجی بوقت صدا میں حسین ہوں گونجی حسین ہوں سوکھی ہوئی ہے شمر میرے حلق کی رگیں سوکھی ہوئی ہے شمر میرے حلق کی رگیں آہستہ تو چھری کو چلا آہستہ تو چھری کو چلا میں حسین ہوں گونجی صدا میں حسین ہوں گونجی میں حسین ہوں اماں کسی نے پانی کی ایک بوند بھی نہ دی اماں کسی نے پانی کی ایک بوند بھی نہ دی میں بار بار کہتا رہا میں بار بار کہتا رہا میں حسین ہوں گونجی صدا میں ہوں گونجی میں حسین ہوں کٹتا ہوا گلا میرا دیکھا نہ جائے گا کٹتا ہوا گلا میرا دیکھا نہ جائے گا نانا میں ہوں نواسا تیرا نانا میں ہوں نواسا تیرا میں حسین ہوں گونجی بوقت عصر گونجی بوقت حسین ہوں بے بازوؤں کی لاش تڑپ کر الٹ گئی بے بازوؤں کی لاش تڑپ کر الٹ گئی آئی فرات پر جو صدا آئی فرات پر جو صدا میں حسین ہوں گونجی میں گونجی بوقت عصر صدا میں ہوں زانوں پہ رکھ سر کو کہا ایک ضعیف نے زانوں پہ رکھ سر کو کہا ایک ضعیف نے اکبر کہاں ہے درد بتا اکبر کہاں ہے درد بتا میں حسین ہوں عصر صدا میں حسین ہوں عصر صدا اے شامیوں کا فنا دیا مجھ کو غم نہیں اے شامیوں کا فنا دیا مجھ کو غم نہیں دے دو میری ردا دے دو میری بہن کو ردا میں حسین ہوں گونجی صدا میں حسین ہوں میں حسین ہوں ایسا لگا رضا کی شناور سے فاطمہ ایسا لگا رضا کی شناور سے فاطمہ کہتی ہے بار بار سنا کہتی ہے بار بار سنا میں حسین ہوں گونجی حسر صدا میں حسین ہوں گونجی بوقت حسر صدا میں حسین ہوں گونجی بوقت
یہاں سنبھل کر قدم اٹھانا یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہاں سنبھل کر قدم اٹھانا یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہاں سنبھل کر قدم اٹھانا یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہ بات ہرگز نہ بھول جانا یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہاں سنبھل کر قدم اٹھانا یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے جہان صبر و رضا یہی ہے خدائے صبر و رضا یہی ہے یہاں پہ آتے ہیں چل کے مہدی بہشت زہرا یہ سرزمین ہے یہاں ہے زہرا کا آنا جانا یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہاں سنبھل کر قدم اٹھانا یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے
دعائیں دیں گے حسین تم کو یہاں پہ آنسو اگر بہائیں جہاں پہ بیٹی نے بے وطن کی ستم گروں سے تماچ کھائے یہاں پہ خوشیوں کو بھول جانا یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا
ہے یہاں سنبھل کر قدم اٹھانا
یہ کربلا ہے یہ
کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے
یہاں پہ گزری ہے وہ قیامت ملا نہ اس کو سکون اب تک ردائے چھننے کے غم میں عابد لحد میں روتا ہے خون اب تک یہاں پہ ہرگز نہ مسکرانا یہ کربلا یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا سنبھل کر قدم اٹھانا یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا
یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے
یہاں پہ حر بھی تھا حرملا بھی کتاب ہستی کو پڑھ کے دیکھو صدائے حل من جو آ رہی ہے تم اس طرف ہو یا اس طرف ہو تمہیں عمل سے ہے اب بتانا یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا
ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہاں سنبھل کر قدم اٹھانا یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے
کہیں پہ قاسم ہوئے ہیں ٹکڑے کہیں پہ زی سے گرے تھے مولا کہیں سکینہ سمو سے لپٹی کہیں پہ اصغر نے تیر کھایا یہیں غریبی کا ہے ٹھکانہ یہ کربلا یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا
ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہاں سنبھل کر قدم اٹھانا یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا ہے
سواری آئے گی ایک وہاں سے نجف کی جانب نگاہ رکھنا جب آئے شام غریبہ اس دم علی کو زینب کا پرسہ دینا تو معصوموں کے دیے جلانا یہ کربلا ہے یہ کربلا
وہاں سنبھل کر قدم اٹھانا صغرا نے آنسوں کے کتنے دیے جلائے 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 صغرا نے آنسوں کے دیے جلائے صغرا نے آنسوں کے جلا پردیس جانے والے پردیس جانے والے پھر لوٹ کرنا آئے صغرا نے آنسوں کے کتنے دیے جلائے صغرا نے آنسوں کے چہرے پہ انگلیوں کے اب تک نشان ہے باقی چہرے پہ انگلیوں کے اب تک نشان ہے باقی زندان میں سکینہ زندان میں سکینہ روتی ہے منہ چھپائے صغرا نے آنسوں کے کتنے دیے جلائے صغرا نے آنسوں کے جلائے صغرا نے آنسوں کے شاید مباہلا کی پھر آ پڑے ضرورت شاید مباہلا کی پھر آ پڑے ضرورت زہرا کی بیٹیوں کو زہرا کی بیٹیوں کو شبیر ساتھ لائے صغرا نے آنسوں کے صغرا نے آنسوں کے کتنے دیے جلائے صغرا خیمے جلانے والے تھے جانشین ان کے، خیمے جلانے والے تھے جانشین ان کے، بنت نبی کے گھر پر، بنت نبی کے گھر پر جو آگ لے کے آئے سغران آنسوؤں کے، کتنے دیے جلائے سغران، کتنے دیے جلائے سغران، رونے کی دی تسلی بے حال قیدیوں کو، رونے کی دی تسلی بے حال قیدیوں کو، حال اپنے دل کا زینب، حال اپنے دل کا زینب جا کر کسے سنائے سغران آنسوؤں کے، کتنے دیے جلائے سغران آنسوؤں کے، کتنے دیے جلائے سغران، چہرے پہ انگلیوں کے اب تک نشاں ہے باقی، چہرے پہ انگلیوں کے اب تک نشاں ہے باقی، زندان میں سکینہ، زندان میں سکینہ روتی ہے منہ چھپائے سغران آنسوؤں کے، کتنے دیے جلائے
یا